we need more classrooms, we build classrooms based on one man, one shilling. Because what's going to happen is you'll have certain constituencies where the schools are overwhelmed. They'll need more classrooms. Let's have makeshift tents. Let's hire the teachers. Let's make sure. And then you know what? The government is going to have to come back and say, you know what, to do this to the citizens, to do this, we need to collect this much money. But before the government asks for money from the citizens, right, they need to show us accountability for what they're getting. I know that to provide free basic education, we will need probably $1 trillion plus. But the thing is, when we give that $1 trillion plus to the schools, are we getting the schools to actually perform? Are we devolving corruption even to the schools? I've heard people say that even within the various funds there is corruption. I think we have to really have a moral reflection as a country, as leaders and as parents, because it's not just the leaders who are corrupt. Also, you have parents who are corrupt, you have citizens who are corrupt, and it's a chain reaction for everything that is going on in this country. So what we have to do is to ensure that we collect the resources and then we disperse the resources, because the delays of resources, if we say that the government is going to give the capitation, if the government doesn't send the capitation on time, doesn't send the correct amount of capitation, then what will happen is the schools are going to be auctioned, because some of the schools right now have a lot of money that they owe. So we need to basically have an audit done about what would it cost to have complete free education. Now, I know that we have free education, but there are so many hidden costs. The hidden costs come in the uniforms, which are very expensive, and it's a cartel and a racket in itself. The hidden cost comes in the school board of management and parents association asking for money from the parents. The hidden cost comes in the feeding programs. Dishina County in Nairobi is working for primary schools. We should also make it work for secondary school. We should also make sure that it's fortified and it has a variety. I've heard students also complain, because even if we're giving something for free, we have to give something that is of quality. Student wants variety. I've heard Nairobi students asking for chapati, not rice and dengu and beans every day. So when I speak about amalgamation of all the bursaries, I'm not speaking only about us, because we know that that's not going to be enough. But as leaders, if we make the first step and say, you know what, we're not going to get involved in bursaries, but then we oversight the ministry, then we provide the resources, then we go to our constituents and we talk to them about the need to actually have money for education. We've put money for housing as a housing levy. Should we think in future about an education levy where money is collected specifically for education, where parents will actually be able to say, you know what, we're not going to oppose this, because this education levy is going to ensure that my child goes to school from ECD all the way to secondary. Then in the end they get into HELP and they get the funding model where they'll get the loans. Honorable Speaker, when we merge all these bursary schemes into a single fund managed by the State Department of Education, this consolidation will eliminate duplication and ensure standardization and increase efficiency in the fund management. When I say duplication, what do I mean? There are people who know how to apply for bursaries. And those people who know how to apply for bursaries will go from the ward to the MP to the woman rep. You know, they'll go everywhere. But there are many who don't know. Like the lady yesterday who finally managed to reach me. But even if she had reached me, the funds was not enough. So we're discriminating, because why should one child get it and not another? So why don't we as leaders fight for free, basic, compulsory education? Give up this fund, which is actually causing us not to oversight the Ministry of Education properly. Let us look at let the ministry come back and give us an answer. This is a step in the right direction. Give us an answer as to how much money do we need to fund education. We have development partners. We've got private sector partners. You know, we've got the Wings to Fly. We've got so many people, MasterCard, so many people funding education. Can we pool all those resources and ensure that every child in Kenya, and a child, I'm talking about children up to secondary, goes for free? And when it comes to boarding, I mean, it's so disheartening to see children walking with mattresses, walking with big boxes, going to boarding school. Let's equip the boarding schools. Let them show up to school to learn. And let's give them all those facilities in the school. What will it cost for us to do that? Let's have an audit. Let's start the process so that we can ensure that we actually live up to the promises that were asked for by Kenyans enshrined in our constitution. Honorable Speaker, these reforms will ensure that every student, irregardless of their social-economic background, have equitable access to quality education. Funds will reach those who need them without delay or discrimination, without mothers and fathers having to tarmac, without children having to be sent home from school. Honorable Speaker, by covering all costs associated with basic education, the reforms will reduce the dropout rates in secondary school, enabling more students to complete their studies. In addition, families will be relieved by the burden of struggling to cover school costs, not currently covered by bursaries such as exam fees, uniforms, materials, promoting financial stability at the household level. Honorable Speaker, allow me to emphasize that providing free basic education is the responsibility of the government, is a responsibility that the government must uphold. Reforming the bursary system is not just a policy change, it is a moral and constitutional obligation to ensure that no child is denied the opportunity to learn due to being marginalized. I therefore urge that the Ministry of Education, in collaboration with all relevant stakeholders, undertake this comprehensive overhaul and implement the new system to provide free basic education for all. As I conclude, I reiterate that this motion is about ensuring the government fulfills its constitutional duty to provide free and compulsory education to every child in Kenya. Picture a young student in the informal settlements or a rural village whose dream for education is currently threatened by financial barriers. This reform, by consolidating bursary schemes and directly funding schools, will lift the burden and ensure that no child is left behind simply because of lack of resources. I am aware that the Speaker engaged the Ministry of Education through the clerk to provide us with information that will birth a legislative proposal to address this issue. Equally, the Constitutional Court sitting in Nakuru directed that there is a need to consolidate bursaries. Honorable Speaker, this reform will lay the foundation for an equitable education system, one that not only opens doors for these young minds, but also builds a future where education empowers entire generations. As we secure their access to learning, we are also securing Kenya's social and economic development, creating a nation where every child can fulfill their potential. I have to end by saying that 70% of the students